Chapter 6. The Sense of Astrological Influences. We do not accidentally start the book with the presentation to your attention the basics of the Eastern teachings about the chakras. What guided us in this you will learn in the future. And now we turn to astrology. Why is there such science? What is the basis of astrological influences? What affects us? What is the material carrier? If it is particles, then to what plans do they belong? As it is surprising, but the basis of astrological influence is the usual physical and astronomical mechanism. The main actors here are the same, the elementary particles and the celestial bodies, as well as forces that they possess: a circumflex of attraction, repulsion, inertia, pressure, and by which they effect on other particles and bodies a circumflex that is on us. But there is another factor to be taken into account. We should consider this mechanism not only from the naked, scientific point of view, but also from the esoteric. This side of the explanation is ensured to that every elementary particle is a carrier of information. This is a source of that what is called on the East as karma. It has a memory. Now this fact is not known to scientists, but someday it sure becomes an integral part of the scientific worldview. Although it will be quite different science, esoteric. We do not accidentally start this book with the story about the mechanism of action of the chakras. A chakra is an energy center, one of the shell bodies forming the organism. This is a channel. The channel that transmits energy through itself, absorbing and emitting. The meaning of astrological influence on us is the impact of elementary particles emitted by celestial bodies. Particles reach us, our bodies, penetrate into the substance of our bodies, and create a channel. Absorption of particles occurs by two principles. 1. Blindly under the action of gravity. This occurs mainly from the side of the chemical elements. Although the particles with fields of attraction is composed of all plans, not just physical. But it is the chemical elements, these are the main centers of gravity in any organism. 2. Selectively, by purposeful selection of the desired particle quality. That's how all subtle bodies work in the composition of a living creature. In this case, the selection occurs on the basis of needed information. If the particle carries a needed informative basis, it is absorbed by the chakra; if it does not, repelled or removed if it accidentally was swallowed. And already in the body is a process of selective separation of information flows. This means that no matter what chakra has absorbed one or another particle, it will be further sent to the appropriate information department. Usually the particles of the lower plans are absorbed by the lower chakras, and of the top, by the top. But this is optional. If information saturation of the particle attracts the upper chakras, it will be taken up there, upstairs. This is the ascension of the matter to heaven. In a quarry of everyday experience mason, the top shells of the human body selects to itself the best material, a circumflex morbly, and weeds a circumflex granita, down. Such way there is constructed the paradise on the earth. Also it takes place the opposite phenomenon. If information corresponding to the lower plans is written on the particles of the high, they do not go up but to down. A circumflex the dive of spirit into matter. And this is the road to hell, figuratively speaking. It should be noted that blind obedience to the law of gravity takes place mainly in the lower chakras. In chemical elements it is most strongly expressed. Although they have the ability to choose among the general flow that they need. But their attraction is too large to delete unnecessary by themselves. In the energy centers of the lower levels of the astral plan, which focus in the nuclei of every cell, the ability to selective absorption and sifting is much higher. and our will-less submission to the gravity on the contrary is more weakened. And the higher is the level of chakras, the more selectivity is pronounced, and to a lesser extent, the blind subjection. And here we just start to combine the teaching of the chakras with the basics of astrological influence. This teaching will give us invaluable help in this. We will say otherwise, and only this can really help us. The particles of the four directed above plans are moving through the space emitted by each of the three giant celestial bodies, of which we'll talk in details hereinafter. The physical plan, the astral, the mental, the buddhic. And there is not only of these, but of the two highest plans, atmic and monadic. They reach our planet, and penetrate its substance. Our subtle bodies, our shells selectively absorb them, passing through themselves. And by such way there is an opening of the chakras. The particles of each concrete quality reveal their own power center. Each of the plans makes to rotate, lose and take particles circumflex the chakras that are responsible for them. Naturally, the larger is the number of particles of one or another quality comes to the planet and passes through it and the creatures living on it, the faster the corresponding chakras rotate, and the more they are open. If within 1 year the composition of incoming to the planet radiation changes, so does the degree of opening of the chakras of a different type in the organism. If the percentage of the particles of the higher plans decreases, the most upper chakras less open. Accordingly, the spiritual development of the human, or of any other creature is less stimulated. This percentage increases and evolutionary progress increases. A significant amount of radiation of the lower plans contributes to the opening of the lower chakras, including astral, cell nuclei, and physical chemical elements. The ration of openness of various types of chakras in the body determines the peculiarities of human nature, or living being. Do not forget that only 4 plans represent the human body: physical, astral, mental and buddhic. Therefore mainly mental and buddhic are the higher for us. Physical and astral are the lower. Although, of course, the particles of atmic and monadic plans also can affect us, but it needs a special development for this. And appropriate slim bodies in humans are still not present. So, people cannot purposefully absorb specified types of radiation. However, the astrological influence can only help or impede, but in no way completely determine. Stars suppose, but do not force. Total development of the human depends on many factors, in the first turn, on his own goals and intentions. Particles coming to the planet pass through the body of the child and from the moment of the birth accustom him to a certain degree of openness of the chakras. Changes of the qualitative and quantitative composition of radiation during the year lead to changes in the development of the respective energy centers. The body adapts quickly, and such state becomes a natural. And in the future, it considers it the most optimal for itself, familiar, native, and the most habitual. Then in the course of life a person experiences all new influences that may adjust to these initial basic settings. Like the powerful energy external influences, the environment in which we are upbringing, and development of the organism, activation of the energy centers in it. All this will change the initial impetus, and maybe even almost drown it out. Previously open chakras can close, or vice versa, closed or underdeveloped will become stronger, open. However, the trace obtained at birth will stay once and for all. That's why astrologers with experience are able to determine the zodiac sign of a human, not knowing the birthday. Influence of the zodiac sign remains for all life. At once it is more pronounced, because the living conditions are similar to the conditions of birth. At others it is fogged as they grow in a completely different environment. But it still remains. How does the body try to keep the openness of chakras inherent to its birthday? Staying in certain circumstances, we absorb its atmosphere literally. We charge by the particles of that quality that are dispersed at this moment around us in the matter and in the air. So that people consciously or unconsciously seek the environment that is comfortable and familiar for them. And in this way they pump into their thing bodies the energy of required quality. Some people most of all appreciate the joy of earthly life, and they select from the total energy flow emotional images. Others are more interested in the mental side of occurring in the universe processes and phenomena. All sorts of logical problems and challenges, that is their path. But others have already risen to the level of awareness of the highly spiritual presence in the world of ideas. Astral-mental relationships do not satisfy them in full. Accordingly, each of these types of individuals will select from the ambient energy informative field that need for him, her. And this needed for him is sealed on elementary particles. Therefore, absorbing particles, we absorb information. This is a very broad theme, a circumflex what and how stimulates and nourishes our chakras, and we will not dwell on this here. We only say that any contact lead to this, visible or invisible,